All right, we are recording. Good morning, everybody. This is Stu and David, and we have Dr. Robert Mills with us. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you, Stu. How are you guys?
I'm doing fantastic. So this is Filling the Storehouse podcast episode. I'm already off, David. Is
12,
it
dude. 12.
12?
We're on
Man,
12.
I can't count.
We're on 12.
This is tough for me.
What's
So-
crazy is as the entire time that we've gone through this podcast, it's always the next iteration is one more than the last one. It's been incredible. It's been incredible.
Yeah, you're right. Counting's not. I mean, I am the engineer in the group, but
Yeah, which is
counting's-
scary, right?
I know.
Now I'm starting our business model. For all you investors out there, we have a third-party counter. So don't worry.
No, dude, I just
trust
put it
us.
all in Excel spreadsheet, and it all does all the math for me. So it's all good.
It's a good plan.
Yeah. So I'm noticing this is becoming a trend a little bit on the guests that we're having on. This is the second or third time where I'm like the odd guy out with hair.
Hey, you should
Stu,
start
if I'm looking carefully, it looks like there's some recession taking place there, and the receding.
Well,
Sure.
yeah, maybe. I mean, I cut it all off for the coronavirus.
It just looks like you got kind of a peak going there, like maybe it's beginning to sort of recede back. That's how it starts.
So my wife was actually really mad at me when I cut it all off. She's like, "It might not come back." So please don't. Please, I'm gonna knock on some wood right now. All right.
Hey,
What-
that's been my strategy, my hope for the back hair, but it comes back strong every time. So you could just tell her that.
All right, let's not go there.
Let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on. So today we have Dr. Robert Mills, and Dave is going to talk about it more, but he's been a huge impact to him and really somewhat of a tertiary effect to me, because David will then tell me everything that he has conversations with Dr. Mills, and we wanted to kind of hit on today about establishing a desired income. And for us in the military, we do kind of a backwards planning type action, and I know that Dr. Mills does it in his business, and we also do it in our real estate businesses. And you set that goal, you set that future long runway with the end goal in mind, and then kind of plan backwards from it. And that path should be steered with advisors and mentors along the way. And so if you're not finding those mentors and advisors along the way to help you really find that path and keep you on that path and not get you off of it, to get you to those goals, is paramount to success. There's a Bible verse that kind of hits this topic well. It's Proverbs 15:22, and it says, "Plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors they succeed." And I know Dr. Mills has been a huge impact and a huge advisor to David and I, and so we wanted to bring him on today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Stu. I appreciate that. Thanks. Good to be here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I'll start it off with just a quick bio so you guys can get to know a little bit who Dr. Mills is. Just for names are important. So to start, I've called him Dr. Mills for the last 20 odd years. But my wife and kids call him Uncle Bobby. So if you reach out to him and get some financial advisement, I leave it to you to determine what the appropriate way forward and title should be. But it's been an absolute pleasure for me and my family to get to know Dr. Mills and his wife Angela and their two sons, and it's just been an incredible journey. And I will tell you that my life has been vastly enhanced with my interaction. It's kind of funny because I'd say that two of the most influential people in my life are on this podcast right now. So this is a special edition for me. I usually don't give Stuart credit and tell him nice things, but he's absolutely been a huge influence. And then Dr. Mills has also been a significant influence in my life. We'll get more into that later. But
the thing, this is being recorded. I'm going to keep this for a long time.
I actually thought this was a practice run. Shoot.
Nope.
Oh, okay.
I got it. It's recorded.
Perpetuity. It's there. Okay, so Dr. Robert Mills is the founding partner and a wealth manager at Riverside Wealth Advisors, LLC, serving families and businesses around the country. Prior to joining Riverside Wealth Advisors, he was a senior manager and financial representative with North Florida Financial for 11 years. He served as pastor for churches in Georgia and Florida from 1979 to 2004, when he retired from local church ministry. Since becoming a wealth manager, he has helped hundreds of families and businesses chart their financial future and views it as a continuation of ministry. If he's not working, you can be sure he and his family will be on the water, in the snow, or traveling. Dr. Mills is passionate about helping small business owners and high net worth individuals prepare to retire in the 0% tax bracket, providing the tools and education to make their dreams a reality. And, to add to that, on a personal note, as I said, Dr. Mills has been a significant influence in my life. I oftentimes think back to my time in Pensacola when you and I used to meet at the coffee cup, and we'd have some coffee, and you'd give me some lessons on how to become a man. So it was an awesome time for me. It was a great period in my life, a transition from the Naval Academy to to adult life. So you were a huge part of that. And then as a family planner, oftentimes came to you and asked for advice. You married my wife and I. So you were the presiding officer at our wedding, and you married my wife and I, which was awesome. And then as a financial advisor for the last I think probably one of your lowest net worth, but one of your first clients. So I will take pride in knowing that when I came on, so Dr. Mills is absolutely crushing it. But when I came on, it was still at a time, it was so early in the game that you weren't even charging the initial fees to talk to you. And that was forever ago. So for any of you listening, sorry, you won't get that deal. He's a little bit beyond that now. But it's just been a great journey, and you have been a transformative part of my life for many, many years now. And as Stu said, that just kind of carries over to my conversations with Stu, and funny enough, my conversations with Stu carry over to my conversations with you. So on that,
Yeah.
Dr. Mills, welcome.
Yeah. Well, thanks, David. Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I have enjoyed my relationship with David for a long time. A lot of very significant recollections in my life surround David. One of the most enjoyable weddings that I ever conducted was with David, and I to this day still remember the reception and the rehearsal and the wedding. So it's just been an incredible opportunity to be a part of David's life. One of my favorite remembrances of David is that he had about 14 different surgeries in the time that he was in the military and the academy, and getting, I think, injuries from football. And one of the times that he had a surgery, he convalesced at our home. And David, David is a quality person, and was from the day that I met him. I can't take credit for who he has become, because he's always been this kind of guy. But I can still remember one of my favorite stories about David is that he was convalescing at our home at the same time my mother-in-law was, and they were there together. And so we came for the evening meal, and I think it was maybe one of the first times that David could actually get up and move around. He kind of stayed in the recliner for several days before he was able to get up and start moving around because of the pain in his shoulder. And he had a great big brace on his arm that held his arm and shoulder stationary, and so he had that on. And just kind of one of the rules at our home was that when you came to dinner, you always wore a shirt. And so my son Stephen at the time was, I don't know, they were maybe 14, 13, something like that, maybe a little bit younger even. But David came and sat down, and Stephen, my son, was like, I could just see this fear come across his face, like, oh no. And so he finally told David, said, David, normally when we come to dinner, we like to wear clothes, so you might want to go put some clothes on when you come to dinner. So we've had some great times with David, and he and Erica, when they were dating, would come out to our condo at the beach, and we would have some great times with them. And so and really, one of the unique things about David and Erica is that Erica is probably a far superior athlete to David. That was she could probably take David if she wanted to. So as big and brutal as he is, Erica was still the athlete. She was a quarterback for the football team. We had a ladies football team in Pensacola, and she was their quarterback and leader. So anyway, it's been fun to watch David and Erica grow, to watch their family grow, to see what godly people that they are. And continue to become, and it's been a fun journey watching David, and now watching David as a father is really. We visited with him in their home in Colorado, and it was fun just to watch the interaction between David and the kids. So I really admire him, and I've had the opportunity to meet Stu on several different occasions, and now with what you guys are doing in Storehouse, it's just really phenomenal. So congratulations to you guys. I'm proud of what you've done and what you continue to do, and for the ministry that you're providing to so many people, and helping people grow their wealth by participating with you guys in the Storehouse ministry. I appreciate what you're doing for our military personnel and the contributions that you're making to their life through Storehouse. So the whole business model and the whole paradigm that you guys have established is just really admirable, and I'm grateful to you guys, not only for the service that you provide our country through the military, David continuing to serve, and but also what you're doing now for our veterans and the wounded warriors, and the way that you're helping them. So I appreciate you guys more than you know.
Well, thank you, sir. That's really kind of you to say. It's been an honor to be a part of your life as well, and I know David will say the same. But I'm almost starting to question this advisor role a little bit, because David says that you've been advising him on how to become a man, and I'm just it's not quite there yet. So maybe we need to kind of talk about the life coach part of your business, and maybe just talk about more of like
that was still in development. That's the division of their business that's really it's taking a little bit longer to.
Let's not use David as a reference in the life coach section of your business, because not quite there yet.
Yeah, so that was a wrap. Storehouse episode 12.
Listen, David has, obviously we are separated by distance now, but not by our love and affection. And David is just, Angela and I have always sort of considered him our third son. I mean, that's the kind of relationship that we have with David and Erica. And so Stu, I will continue to work on David. I will continue to try to help him to develop. But I just want you to know, you need to be careful what you say about him, because, Angela, my wife, can have that mama bear kind of thing come out, when you start talking about her children. So
she'll jack you up. She'll jack you up, Stu. So you better lock it up.
All right. Fair enough. Well, Dr. Mills, obviously you've had a huge impact on David. But I'm curious, where your path was started. Who are the people in your life? Who are the mentors and the advisors in your life, and how did that kind of steer you down the path that you went?
Sure. Well, as David, I'm going to kind of back up a little bit, Stu. As David mentioned, I was in the ministry for many years, and I had the opportunity to retire and to move into the second phase of my life, which is what I'm doing now, which I really consider to be part of my ministry, a continuation of my ministry. But when I was in ministry, probably the very first real mentor that I had was my own pastor. He was highly educated, very bright, a capable speaker, and he was very generous in his time and energy that he poured into me. He helped me to understand the importance of having a balanced life, particularly with my family life. Ministry can become very demanding. Just like running a business, you guys know running a business can be very demanding. David is in the military. He's doing Storehouse. He's a husband. He's a father. So there's a lot of different roles that we play. And so my mentor was very helpful. Dr. Gene Tyre is his name. Dr. Tyre was very helpful in helping me to understand the importance of having a balanced life. He also helped really instill in me the importance of reading and learning and being a constant learner. He helped me to know that you never arrive, that you're always developing, you're always growing. So even now at my age and where I am now, I still continue to try to read. I just last night finished up Malcolm Gladwell's book, David and Goliath. And so I try to continue to read and be informed. And so Dr. Tyre really instilled that in to me. The second thing that he really instilled into me was the importance of developing my spiritual life, and to make sure that I was nurturing my prayer life, making sure that I was approaching the scriptures not only from looking to teach, but also to make sure that I was personally being fed as well. So sometimes your sponge can get kind of dry, is the image that he used to use, and so he wanted to make sure that I was constantly having that sponge filled. So Dr. Tyre was a big role in my life, and then I had a seminary professor that continued to mentor me as I continued on in ministry by the name of Wade Rowett. He was a pastoral care professor at the seminary when I was there. And so that he really was very helpful in me in understanding ministry, and particularly in the context of local church ministry, the importance of developing leadership skills, and making sure that you're constantly pouring your life into the lives of others. And so he began to really help me to understand the importance of not only being fed from Dr. Tyre's perspective, but also from being sure that we are feeding others and caring others and pouring our lives into other people. So Stu, I don't want to ramble too much, but I made a transition from ministry when I retired. I was pastor of a very large congregation in Pensacola, and we had a couple thousand people every Sunday worship. We had a regional television ministry, and so I had some good success there. God had really blessed my ministry. We did a $7.5 million building project while I was there, and so when I retired, I had a lot of people come to me and talk to me about joining their organizations. I had some people that wanted me to come help them, not for profit. They wanted me to come help them with their development work. I had another group that wanted me to help churches raise money. I had raised all the money that I wanted to raise in ministry. That's not what I felt like God was calling me to do. And then I had the Florida Baptist Convention was pursuing me to fulfill a role that would mentor young pastors who were discouraged in ministry. Well, at that point in my life, I was so burned out in ministry that I knew that was not for me. So what happened was that I had worked with a financial advisor for the first time in my life in Pensacola. And so I went to him and I talked to him about, listen, you have really helped me in my own personal financial journey. I was wondering if you might assist me, let me learn about what it is that you do to see if I could learn how to do what you do. Because the work that he did with me really catapulted my family and me to a level financially that I had never dreamed that we would be. I had never worked with a financial advisor before, so I really didn't know a lot of things that I learned from him. And his name was Ed Guernsey, is who my financial advisor was. So I went to him, and he let me shadow him for a couple of months to see if that's really something that I wanted to do. And if I could also just throw in here that when I was in ministry, oftentimes I would have young couples come to me, and they were having marriage problems or marriage difficulties. And inevitably, Stu, one of the things that would happen is that financial difficulties would kind of bubble to the top. And so that's really kind of how I got interested in financial advising. And so from that perspective, knowing the importance of it in ministry and helping people deal with their monies and being good stewards with what God has entrusted to them, that I wanted to be able to help other people the way that Ed Guernsey had helped me. And so Ed Guernsey, Richard McCool were two of my mentors when I started into wealth management. And I would meet with Richard McCool every morning, once a week at 7 o'clock. I would meet with Richard. We would go over my goals, what kind of accomplishments I had, what was it I needed to be studying, what was it I needed to be reading. He would coach me on how I'm dealing with my clients. He would sit in meetings with me. And so he really helped me refine some of my business plans as I began into wealth management. So those are early on. Those were some of the real significant mentors that I had, and the things that they assisted me with.
There's a lot there, and I encourage any of our listeners to go back and listen to that, because there's a couple things that I noted, which awesome. Thank you for that, Dr. Mills. And there's a couple things that I noted. So the transition parallels from ministry to a different career is very similar to, Stu and I currently in our transition plan from the military to Storehouse full-time. And a lot of our military listeners who are approaching kind of the end of their career, whether it's retirement or whatever it is, there's just so many parallels there that you can go into, you take some of the foundations that you established through your mentors and some of the stuff that they pour into your life, and you transition that. And you were obviously very thoughtful, had a lot of opportunities like a lot of our military folks. And then you go back to that mentorship and the guidance and that foundation that's been set to enable you to propel yourself into another direction. And what's really interesting, especially today's day and age, you look at when people get the turnover rate for people starting careers. And I think what's very interesting is those people that have a very well-established why and spend time with their mentors and get fed and spend a ton of time establishing that, don't do that. You went from the ministry into financial advisement. You've been doing that for close to 20 years. And I think that that's a testament to the time you spent, which is always a great investment, really trying to find what that next step is. And you take that why of your ministry, and we'll get into that here in the next question, to catapult you in another career, which I think is incredible. And there's like I said, there's so much there. I'm going to go back and listen to it as well, because there's a ton to be distilled from everything you just said. And the reading piece, love the reading piece. John Laney, we had him on recently. The CEO of DoD reads, and I think what's also very interesting is he had someone in his life say, you need to keep reading, and it changed his life. And what a great episode with him. And you hit on the same thing. So it's not just us talking about this stuff every time we get on the show. We have these well-established, very successful individuals, and they're all going back to the same theme of reading and continuous learning. So thank you for that. And so it's clear to me that your mentors left a huge impression. And what's also really cool about that is the cumulative effect of your mentors. Whatever they put into your life, I've also benefited from that, right? As being one of your proteges and mentees, I have benefited from all the time that they spent pouring into you. And then being Stuart's mentor, I've now poured that into him. But that's a different show.
So David mentors me on reading books like this. It's just, this is David's style of reading. Yeah, it's just
great book.
No words, just pictures.
Okay,
it's
good.
just a picture book. And I'm now reading that to my kid, my 2-year-old.
Yeah. Well, when I was a minister, I used to read to our graduating seniors from high school, "Oh, the Places You Will Go" by Dr. Seuss.
Great book. One of my favorites.
There's a lot of good reads on a lot of different levels. So hey, don't be throwing David under the bus.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Hey, Dr. Seuss he's good, man.
You're gonna get no traction with insults on this show, Stu. This is a good one. I'm gonna start really vetting our guests to set this up. But good, Doc. What is your why, and how much of that why do you attribute to all the awesome folks you just mentioned?
Sure. Okay. Well, I was a long time ago, I read an article that Rick Warren had written, and he talks about every person needs a Paul and a Timothy. in their life. And the Paul is the person who would be maybe older than you, or not necessarily chronologically older, but a longer time believer. A person who's been, maybe a little bit further along in their walk than you are. So you need that more mature, stable mentor from the Paul perspective. But then also you need a Timothy in your life, which is somebody that you're pouring your life into. And so, in my ministry, I had my seminary professors, I had Dr. Tyre, that poured into my life, and then I had the opportunity through ministry to pour into other people's lives. So I really have always appreciated that imagery of a Paul and a Timothy, a more mature person and then the younger person. I appreciate you guys asking about the why. In my firm, we have new advisors that come in. And the very first book that I ask them to read is Simon Sinek, Start With Why. And Stu, if they don't like to read or can't read, then I send them to the podcast. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I pull mine out too, just in case, just to make sure that. But this has really, I think, if our advisors, our new advisors, can get this down, then and really operate from this perspective, then they're going to be. I believe they're going to be a success. So, David, I get that. One of the questions I get asked a lot is, not so much now as in earlier when I made the transition from ministry into financial advising and wealth management. People would ask me, how is it that you moved from light to the dark side? Why did you move to the dark side? And so my response to that is really built around my why of my life right now, David, and that is that I really view what I do with my business and with the clients that I work with the advisors that we have on our team. I really view this as an extension of my ministry. As a pastor, one of the things that I was responsible for helping people to do was to develop themselves into the people that God called them to be, that God wants them to be. In order for them to do that, there has to in order for that to happen, people have to understand the different aspects of their life. And finances is one of those aspects of helping them be a good steward. And so stewardship just becomes a huge part of ministry, and helping people to develop is built around stewardship. You guys are being a good steward of what it is that God has entrusted to you, with your minds, with your creativity, with your connections. You guys are being good stewards of that, and I see that God is blessing you as a result of that. So, my why is built very much around the passion that I have for helping people move to the place that God intends for them to be, and to be on that journey of constantly developing. And so, when it comes to wealth management, that track is still very similar, in that I'm working with people on a very intimate level. I'm dealing with their finances. I'm helping them achieve the goals that they have, utilizing the resources that God has entrusted to them. So my why is built around the fact that my my business today is a continuation of my ministry. And so that is why I'm doing what I'm doing. So I do not view what I do on the dark side at all. And one last piece of that, David, is that one of the very first clients I ever had in Pensacola was a couple with no children, but they had some significant resources, and so they came to me and asked me to help them with that. And so, David, one of the things that we have done is we've established an endowment at First Baptist Church Pensacola that will fund people on mission trips that they are unable to afford to go on mission trips. Then the resources that couple have now contributed to First Baptist enables people to go on mission trips. And so that is an example of why I'm doing what I'm doing. I view it as a continuation of my ministry and helping people become the people of God that God's called them to be.
That's That really fires me up because it's a similar why that David and I have in our business, and just, you know, from, you know, real estate has just been our tool to ministry, if you will, and we've already seen it with so many blessings of just how, you know, the Storehouse mission has impacted some of the people that have been partners with us. And I've on multiple occasions I've received, and David same, have received, you know, either text message or just having meaningful phone calls with people, and how this real estate business has become a ministry to people for them to find the Lord. And I've had I received a text message just recently from one of our investors who was just like, "Hey, thank you guys. You know, I have rekindled my relationship with the Lord because of you guys." And it had nothing to do with real estate, but it was our real estate business that brought it there. And so that's been like really, really cool to me. Uh, and and I know that's our passion for sure. So it's again, you know, your mentorship and advisorship to David and I have helped in that matter.
Hey, Stu, and real quick before you go to the next question, one of my most fond memories of you and I starting this business, you know, I still remember I was parking over by the overlooking the Naval Academy. You know, I think the hand of God helped create that institution. It's the nation's preeminent military institution. But and I was sitting at the World War II Memorial, and it was so funny as we were talking through developing a business. One of the things we discussed, I don't know if you remember this, but we discussed how if we could contribute to military people's financial bottom line, then we could potentially save marriages. I don't know if you remember that conversation, but we were talking about how we're passionate about a business that, and the real estate was definitely secondary. We both love real estate. We see it as a very viable path. But our main goals were the giving. And then we specifically talked about divorce rates and how we could potentially contribute to decreasing those, particularly within the military, by helping couples achieve financial freedom. So it just was a very fond memory that you sparked, Dr. Mills, and you talked about that. That's one of the first things, right, that tears couples apart. And you know, to be able to address that through a business is pretty awesome. So sorry, Stu, just want to interject that.
No, that's good, man. That's it. Yeah, I remember it as well. So, Dr. Mills, what are you know, so with the why in hand, that leads to really big goals, right? You know, we have big goals, and just curious, you know, what your big goals are within your business, and what tools you're using to get to those goals.
Sure. Well, our firm, Stu, is a comprehensive financial planning firm, and so we're a little bit unique in that we're not just you know, buying and selling mutual funds or picking stocks and that sort of thing, but we really help our clients develop a comprehensive, holistic financial plan. And so our goal is to number one is to help our firm to grow by adding advisors, not only by bringing in more wealth, but we also are growing by bringing in new advisors. We have 8 advisors now in three locations, 3 full-time staff people to support our advisors. And so, and one of the things that we really are careful to do is that as we grow and as we continue to bring in new advisors, we want to be certain that their values line up with our values. We want to make sure they understand what it is that we're trying to accomplish with our clients, what it is that we want to do with the firm and growing the firm, and make sure that their values line up with our values. Every person who is on our team are believers, and you know, we don't come out of the chute with that when we're talking to a potential advisor, but that is an important part of what we are looking for, is that they have a passion for serving God, and that they have the same attitude that we do, and that what we are doing with our clients is being a careful steward of what God's entrusted to us. So our goals obviously is to continue to bring in assets. Stu, just have an idea, you guys are wanting to do more and more real estate. our goal is to continue to bring in assets and to build that part of our business on a personal production kind of level. But we are also working diligently. My partner, Charlie Douglas, who I baptized when I was a pastor here many years ago, he is very capable in meeting people and casting our vision and interviewing our potential advisors. And so his role is to find new advisors, making sure their values line up with ours, making sure that they have the credentials that we want them to have, the experiences that we want them to have. And then he introduces them to me, and I have the opportunity to share with them a little bit more about deeper down into the weeds about how we do our business and what we look for our advisors as far as any production is concerned. So that they have a clear understanding and expectations are clear when they come in, who we are and what it is that we do. So we have goals that we have set as a firm of how many new assets we want to bring in every year, how many new advisors we bring in every year, how many new clients we bring in every year. So we have those kind of goals that we set on an annual basis too. And one of the things I do, if I can just interject this, I know our time's running short. I hope I'm hitting on the things you guys want, but one of the things that is very important to us is that we measure everything. We track everything. So with our new advisors, we track how many phone calls they're making, how many clients do they have, how are they doing with those clients? Are the clients bringing in new assets? Are the advisors bringing in new assets? So we track everything, both from in the advisors the lives as well as a firm, what we are doing. I learned a long time ago, Stephen Covey, I don't know if you guys, he's an old guy now, but he many years ago, probably 35 years ago now, I went to a conference that he did when he had just written, I mean, that's how long ago it was. He had just written 7 Habits for Highly Effective People. And I went to his conference, and I mean, I went full in on the 7 habits, and I built my calendar every year on the basis of those 7 habits that Stephen Covey talked about, and established my goals. So for me, establishing goals, setting action plans and strategies, and then measuring those underneath what my mission is, of what my why is. And then I have those goals that I set on a long-term basis, which is now about 5 years, and then on an annual basis that we break down monthly. So in fact, guys, on a weekly basis, on Monday mornings, I sit down with my personal assistant. I have a personal assistant, and I sit down with her, and we take a look at where we stand as far as our firm is concerned, as far as the business that we have in the pipeline, and then also that what kind of revenue are we bringing in, and both personally and from the advisors, and we look at that every single week. I heard of a saying a long time ago that said, if it's not worth measuring, it's not worth doing. So we really do try to track everything. This is all in response to your question about the long-term goals. That I'm a goal-driven person, and I attribute that to Stephen Covey. So if you guys, I don't know if you guys have read him, but it really does kind of line up with Simon Sinek, and I'd encourage you to read it if you haven't. And he had a profound impact on my life early on. I can't say that he was really one of my mentors personally, but I would say that he was one of my mentors from the conference that I attended and from the books that he has written.
Go ahead, David. I know you have something to say to that.
Yeah, no, there's a lot. There's so much wisdom here, and now you guys can see why I spend so much time trying to get on the Good Docs calendar to get some of that wisdom. Because I'll tell you what,
I'm taking notes over here, just trying to write it all down.
It's awesome, and I think you hit on a couple things, especially that last point. When we go back to reading and so where you spend your time, this goes into my next question, but where you spend your time is so important. And I think, the fact that what you just hit on with reading, so we have our mentors, we have the folks that we talk to, we have the circle that we spend our time with, and that is very important on who you choose to do that with and where you choose to spend your time. That can be really enhanced by the books you read and the mentor. So Stephen Covey, the fact that you read him completely impacted your life, and then you take those habits and you are now imparting them on everybody that you mentor, everybody that you're doing business with, your personal assistant, myself. And then that spreads, well, Stu's already, him and you are very much similar in the fact that you guys are very organized, write down your goals, goal driven. I'm kind of like a squirrel guy, I'm pretty focused, but I'm kind of like a squirrel guy. So, that's why Stu and I are a beautiful couple. But all that being said, that has really driven you to be very intentional with your business, with nesting it under your why, building that intentionality, going into a data-driven tracking, and it gives you the intentionality behind driving your business forward and all that stuff. That is just awesome. If I can encourage anybody out there, to the time that you spend investing on your business or on whatever it is you're doing, on your command, on your whatever, that time is never time that's poorly spent. It's always well spent, because it'll save you so much time, so much energy, and really drive your business forward. And that's awesome, Dr. Mills. I really appreciate you getting into kind of the weeds on how you guys do that. So and really what that leads perfectly into my next question. You're a busy man. You got a lot going on, and I didn't want to embarrass you or necessarily get into all the different things where you give your time. So obviously your business, your family, your time with the Lord, all those things are paramount. But then you're on all these advisory boards and you're talking to kids at Boys Ranch and hospital boards. And I mean, there's so many boards and everything that you're part of, including Volunteer of the Year from Putnam County Schools. I mean, you're a busy man. And I'm just kind of curious how do you balance all these time commitments and yet continue to excel as an entrepreneur, a mentor, advisor, and an influencer?
Well, thanks, David. Again, I kind of harken that back to one of the mentors that I had. Dr. Tyre talked about making sure that I always had my life in balance. And that was the word that he would use, is making sure that you have it in balance. And so, David, think back to my father. He was a CPA, owned his own business. And one of the profound impacts that he had on me was that as busy as he was, he owned his own business. He had a lot of people working for him, but as busy as he was, if I ever called him, and back in those days, you didn't have cell phones, you actually had the phone to set on the desk, but if I ever called his office and asked to speak to him, it didn't matter what he was doing, he took my call. And so what that implanted in me is the primacy of my family relationship. Certainly my time with the Lord and the things that I do to serve the Lord are important, but the family is vitally important. So that I have tried to make that a commitment in my life. And even now, our boys, as you know, David, one is in San Francisco, one is up in Durham, North Carolina. We're down in Florida, but we make a commitment to until coronavirus hit. We make a commitment to go see them at least twice a year, if not more. And Angela is able to get away. My wife is able to get away a lot more than we are. So anyway, I digress, but my point is having the importance of family, and you guys with young children, is making sure that you carve out time for the family is so vitally important. So my personal time with the Lord, then in my relationship with him, my relationship with my family, then my relationship with the church. And so God has entrusted that flock to me to care for. And so I wanted to make sure that I was giving the very best of what I had and who I was to that flock. And David, by the way, I don't know if you know, but I'm actually pastor of a small Presbyterian church here in Palatka. Now they asked me to fill in, and so I did for a couple of Sundays, and now that's been 18 months ago that we filled in. So I view my responsibility to them, and then to my business, and then to the other ancillary kind of things that I do. One of the things that, again, keeping balance, there have been times in my life when I've gotten my life out of balance and begin to do too many volunteer kinds of things. And so what I have done of late, David, is I'm on more than that now, but I try to limit myself to 2 or 3 boards and not serve on any more than 2 or 3 boards, because you can all of a sudden find your time being consumed with all the volunteer work. It begins to distract you from what those primary relationships are. And that goes back to, again, to the Stephen Covey and what I learned from him a long time ago. We have different roles to fill in our lives. So, I'm a child of God. I am a son. I am a husband. I am a father. I am a business owner. I am a pastor. And then I also have the opportunity to try to participate in some leadership roles in my community. And so that's sort of how I view that hierarchy, David, and then try to make sure that I'm giving my priority to those top things. So,
do you operate on a 24-hour day? Because your day and my day is the fact that you're like, yeah, I only have, I really try to limit myself to 2 to 3 boards. I'm like, I'm trying to find time to go to the bathroom during the day.
Yeah, well, I don't have 3 children, David, running around at the house. So, I'm not having to deal with monster trucks and babies, dolls, and, so I have a little bit more time, disposable time than you do, buddy. So you guys are doing awesome. You're doing awesome. But, that day, Stephen Covey was one of the things, he was very intentional on how you handle your calendar, if you don't put, what I learned, guys, was that if I didn't put time on the calendar where I did it on a regular basis, time with the Lord and exercise, if you actually need to put that on the calendar, make it a calendar event, is what I ended up having to do. And so, so managing your time was one of the things Covey taught me. And so you put everything on the calendar and you live by that calendar.
Yeah. So I've tried to start doing that more and more and more, is adding stuff to my calendar, just scheduling my own time on a calendar, and it pops up, and then it's almost like a secondary accountability partner. I'm trying to do some studying for trying to get my mortgage license, and I've been failing tremendously on it. And so, but what I found is the times that I do remember to schedule my own time to set an hour block of study time, that little reminder pops up, on the calendar on my phone or whatever. I'm like, oh man, I need to study. All right, let's just stop everything I'm doing. I'm going to study for an hour. And that truly does help. I'm going to kind of change questions here a little bit, because I kind of want to just hit on this topic a little bit more. Because I feel that there are times in my life, and I think David will probably say the exact same thing, where it's just mass chaos. And I feel I get so lost in the direction that I'm trying to go down, with my Navy job, with, our kids, with the Storehouse business. We have a mastermind group, we're trying to run a military investing event pretty soon. And there's just there's so many directions that I'm going down, and David's a part of most of those as well. And I guess the question is how do you manage all that? And at what point do you have to start saying no to things to be able to manage that time better? And still be able to focus on the priorities, because there are times, honestly, where I feel like I'm failing at the priorities of the Lord and my family. And I'll catch myself at 5:30 at night at the dinner table looking at my phone and trying to answer a business email, when I really should be sitting and focusing with my family and having dinner and having great conversations. So I don't really know the pointed question, but I guess just asking for some type of advice on how to manage all that.
Sure. Well, and I appreciate that, Stu. Charlie and I started Riverside about three and a half years ago. And we found ourselves struggling with that exact same issue about how we were going to grow our business, how we were going to grow our firm, and what that was going to look like, and what our priorities were. And so it came back to answering your why. So if what you are if you have those distractions in your life, and they may not be distractions, they're good things, but I think you have to first of all make sure that they align with your life's mission and your purpose, that they do align with your why. And then secondly, you only have so much time, you only have so much energy, so you got to make sure that whatever it is that you're doing it with excellence. One of the things that we talk about at our firm a lot is that making sure that we give our clients the Ritz-Carlton experience. And so, you got to be constantly thinking about, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to have to, if I choose to go down that path, I'm going to have to make sure that I have the time, energy, and resources to do it with excellence. And if I can't do it with excellence, and if I can't give what I need to give to make sure that that is going to be something that is going to be glorify God and honor God honoring kind of path, then we need to divert and make sure that we are staying on those things that are the main thing. Stephen Covey, I think it's Stephen Covey, says that making sure that you keep the main thing the main thing. And so whatever that main thing is in your life, Stu, making sure that you keep that as the central focus. And then you can begin to expand that, but as you do, you got to do it. And I know you guys are already doing this, but do it with intentionality, and then making sure that you're doing it with excellence, and and if you can't, then it may be something you might need to pull back from. But that's sort of what the measure that we have used, that I have used, is does it align with my mission, my goals, my purpose, whether it's personal or the business. And then secondly, am I going to be able to do it in a God-honoring way to where people look at that and go, wow, those guys really have their stuff together. That is an organization that I want to be a part of, or this is an experience or an investment, whatever it is that I want to be a part of, because they're doing it with such passion and they're doing it with such excellence. I think the passion comes from the why, and then we have to be constantly asking ourselves, how can we improve? How can we improve? One of the things and we have our team, we have a team. You have your mastermind group. We have a team at our firm that gets together, and on a weekly basis, we're asking that question. And one of the things just to give you an example, one of the things that one of the staff members has decided to do is her husband's a chef. And so he has made up a batch of cookie dough. And so during the day, they'll throw some cookies in this little convection oven that we have at the office. And so when clients walk in, or we have guests walk in, the building is filled with the smell of fresh baked cookies, and so that's just kind of one of the things that they came up with about how they can do that with excellence. So I just would say to that is, does it align with your mission and what it is that you want to do? Is it fully in line with that? And then secondly, making sure that you're going to be able to give the resources to that effort, whatever it is, that's going to make you be able to look like the Ritz-Carlton experience.
So that's incredibly helpful. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of rich stuff here, and and for fear of taking more of your time, Doc, I have to ask this last question. It's a question that I think resonates with our folks. We our last one of these that we did, Stu and I talked about a failure of ours, and I would just be curious on just give us a time, if you don't mind, quickly, what when your times fall apart and how you had to pivot, or what you learned from that mistake, and what you got from that.
Sure. So I'll try to make this short, but very quickly, when I first came into the business, David knows this, I was a representative of the Guardian life insurance companies. And so my primary responsibility was to be providing insurance products to my clients. And I did that. I did it very well. I was a leader anyway, so I had a great deal of success with that. But I decided that I did not want to continue to be with a captive agency, and that I wanted to move out and start my own business. And so Charlie Douglas and a guy named Jim Neshwat and I started St. John's Asset Management. And once we got the business up and running, David, I don't know that I've ever told you this, but once we got the business up and running, Charlie and I realized that we had made a mistake involving our third partner, and his values did not align with ours. The way he treated clients was not the way that we wanted our clients treated. We realized that we had gotten into a relationship with somebody we shouldn't have gotten into. And so we divorced ourselves from him. It cost us a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of heartache. It was a very challenge, just like any divorce is. It was a very challenging experience, and fortunately, we learned it quickly. So we moved. We left him with St. John's Asset Management, and we started Riverside Wealth Advisors. And so Charlie and I left him, that the lessons I learned from that have been, multiple, as you might imagine. But the biggest thing is, and you and Stu obviously have a great relationship, is making sure that as you expand your business and develop partnerships with different people, being absolutely certain that those people's values align with yours, and that you're developing a partnership with somebody that you know that you're going to want to spend the rest of your life with. But that was probably, David, one of my biggest failures. One of the most painful things that I did was to separate from St. John's Asset Management and start Riverside. It cost us a lot. It cost Charlie and I a lot of money. But what we have learned from it is some of the things that I just mentioned about the client experience, and making sure that you are keeping the needs of the client in the forefront, that you are always acting in the client's best interest, and that you never ask yourself, how much money can I make from this? But instead, you're asking yourself, how can the client best benefit? So leaving St. John's Asset Management was very painful and a very difficult thing. But, we're at a great place, David, as you know, we're in a great place now, and are very happy that we made the decision that we did. But that was probably the biggest business mistake that I made, was getting into business with him.
Yeah, wow, that's very insightful, and I think ton of wisdom there. Vetting your partnerships and vetting your core values, and what's really interesting is, if you don't know your own core values and your why, it makes it almost impossible to vet others and see if that partnership's going to work out. And so, obviously you guys clearly understood and know your why and spent a ton of time on that. And that enabled you to very quickly assess that situation. And that cost was outside of the emotional and relational cost, but the financial cost is an education, right? It's sure, an investment in your education, much like college. So I really appreciate you sharing that.
Sure. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I probably learned more from my mistakes than I do from my victories.
Yeah, absolutely. The podcast just right before this one was a big mistake that we learned a lot of lessons on. But the answer to that question really validates to us, kind of the steps that we are trying to enact as far as establishing our business, and that's encouragement to me and David. We're taking a lot of time to really focus on those core values, and the first 6 episodes of this podcast are all about just how we've established those core values and the why behind it, and even when it comes to bringing people into our business and trying to hire people, we're looking for an admin assistant right now, and it's taken a lot longer than I was hoping for, because we just haven't found it yet. And it's interesting, because one of the questions we ask is, what's your why? And have you read the book Start With Why? And if they haven't, we send it to them, or we send them to the TED Talk. And so that's really good. It validates a lot what we're doing, and that's helpful. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I had a lesson. You probably have heard this somewhere along the line, is that you hire slow and fire fast.
Yeah. Yeah. That was one of the themes of our last one. It's so true. It's so true. Well, Dr. Mills, I'm going to skip a question, because I think we've already talked about all the resources in the books and that you've hit on a lot. So I'm going to skip this question of, if you could tell your younger self one thing, what would that be if you could go back?
Yeah, thanks. That is a good question, and I appreciate you sharing it with me ahead of time, because I did give some real thought to that, and I think one of the things that I would say is I have a tendency to sweat the small stuff. And I think if I had it to do over again, a lot of the things that I worried about, a lot of time and energy that I spent fretting on things that never came about, is something that I wish I could divorce myself from. That's something that I would do over again. Secondly, I think one of the things that I have learned in the 65 years is that I had a tendency too much to constantly be wanting to please people. I wanted everybody to be happy. And when I say everybody, I mean like church members and my staff and certainly my family. But I spent too much time thinking about and worrying about what other people thought or what somebody else might think about the decision that I'm making, instead of just making the decision and acting on it and moving forward. I think the third thing is that I would be, based on what I just said to you, very cautious about the people that I invest my life with. That was a huge lesson that Charlie and I learned about having to start the business that we started with, and then moving away from that and starting Riverside Wealth Advisors. I think that was probably one of the most painful things. And like I said, you learn the most lessons from your mistakes. So be very cautious about who you choose to link your life with. I guess another thing that I would do is I look back is that I feel like that making sure that my family stayed as a priority was a good thing. That's one of the things that I could celebrate. Was the time that I invested in my family. When the boys' basketball schedule or baseball schedule would come out, I had my administrative assistant put that on my calendar, and nothing came on top of it. Nobody came on top of that unless it was a dire emergency. I was at their baseball games or their basketball games, and I tried to be present. So anyway, those are probably a couple of the big ones, 2 or 3 of the big ones that I would take away, Stu.
I love that. I'm going to do that. I mean, that's on my to-do list, is just start calendaring out any event of my children, as they continue to grow in their lives, and just make sure that is a part of my daily life, is calendaring out that stuff to be a part of my children's lives. It's important to me for sure. So thank you.
Yeah, what a blessing! What a blessing that is, Dr. Mills. I think most people intuitively think that, like, well, my family's priority, and we go into this action, speak out on the words. And I will say that I'd never really considered putting it in my calendar as a priority like I do other things in my calendar. And I love that action item. That's an action item for me, for Stu. And I think that's beautiful, because that's huge. I really appreciate you sharing that, because I think, again, most of us think about it, but when you do that action, when you put it to paper, it's more than a thought, it's an action, and that's great. And going back to something you said previously before we get to this last question, I've also been a great beneficiary of you coming to almost every one of our duty stations. When you said you go visit your kids, so I've really appreciated that. But I want to offer, do you think Stu could potentially be like a step kid? Maybe, not that there's anything wrong with step kids. I'm a step kid, but like maybe we could adopt him into the fold. Maybe he passes a couple tests or something. Maybe he makes an investment.
Well, if he wears a shirt to dinner, he's in. Okay.
Yeah, I never told you I was faking it most of the time in that surgery. I was really enjoying I was single at the time, and I was getting deliciously cooked home meals and getting the fellowship. So yeah, I actually was not in pain the entire time. I'm a notoriously quick healer.
I know that's not true. I know that's not true. But Stephen had that same surgery, and I know the pain he has. I know that's not true.
Yeah, it wasn't fun. But I do value that time. Hey, last question, Doc. How can our listeners get in touch with you?
Okay, sure. Well, we have a website, and one of the things we're trying to do is to drive all of our clients and all of our prospects to our website. And so you can contact us through the website, and you can learn a lot about us through the website. And it's riversidewealthadvisors.com. And it's just Riverside Wealth Advisors. That's the name of our business. So riversidewealthadvisors.com is our website. And you can go there, and then there's contact us. You can contact us, leave us a message there. Then you can email us through the website. So that would be the best way, David, they get in touch with us. And all the contact, the telephone numbers and all that are there on the website. So yeah,
that's great. Thank you for that. Yeah, thank you for that. And just for all our military listeners out there, being in Pensacola for so long, Dr. Mills has worked quite a bit with military members and has actually given me some quite a bit of knowledge on the military. When I've almost been in 20 years, I would think that I'd be giving him the knowledge, but that's not the case. So it's there's a lot of really, really valuable information on the website, and then from talking to his team directly. Just good to have additional advisors.
David, can I say one other thing? I know we got to go, but our firm made a decision. I made a decision a long time ago that we would never charge a fee to 5 groups of people: military, fire, police, educators, and there's another group. Anyway, so but my point is that any military person that comes to our firm, we'll be happy to help them, and there's not any fee. We view that all those groups of people are service providers, first responders, if you will, in our environment today. And so as a service that we provide for them, we'd be happy to help them, and there wouldn't be a fee for any of those folks.
So now I got to go back and swallow the words I said earlier to Stu that I was special and didn't get a fee. So that's awesome. Thank you so much. And I totally forgot about that, Dr. Mills, but that's awesome that you guys do that. So thank you.
Sure.
Well, sir, this has been an incredible hour. I mean, I've learned a ton. I have like action steps that I'm going to go and take through this just one conversation. So I feel truly honored and blessed that you took time out of your busy schedule to jump on a call with us. And I know our listeners are going to get a ton of value out of this. And I really hope that some of them take the opportunity to reach out to you to get some of some more knowledge that you can provide. So thank you, sir. Really appreciate it.
Sir. Thank you guys. I appreciate who you are and what you're doing. So thank you.
All right. Well, if please share this. Please, we'd love any 5-star reviews that you could give us. Say how awesome I am and how David's just so. But hope you guys got something out of it. And please go fill your storehouse.
Yeah, make it a great day.
Thanks, Dr. Mills. See you.
Thank you.